Hello, good people, and welcome to Hillbilly Cat History. Signed, sealed, remembered, flying to get married. In the last couple of episodes, we've been talking about a marriage. We've been trying to get to Las Vegas so this marriage can happen. Hopefully, we're going to make it there today. I believe we're at least going to get onto the airplane. But before we do, we're going to play a song that's about something that happened in Las Vegas. And it's in 1969 when Elvis writes a telegram to Gary Pepper to thank him. Well, he writes a letter to Gary Pepper to thank him for a telegram that Gary Pepper sent him. And this is Telegram from a Friend. Hi, Keith. Hi, Gunn. Hi, Emma. Hi, Marion. Thank you so much for joining. Telegram from a Friend. Hi, Colleen.
The lights came down on Vegas gold. July heat, a crown retold. Applause like thunder, stars align. But one true friend was not in line. A telegram, a quiet grace, from 12 years deep, a loyal face. I read your words, they calmed the flame. In all that noise I spoke your name. I wish you could have been here, Gary. The velvet night, the roaring crowd. But in my heart your voice was steady, a whisper soft, a faith unbowed. 4 more weeks this fire will fade. I'll find my way back through the haze to Graceland's porch where silence sings and friendship wears no stage or wings. The suits, the gifts, the famous hands, they cheered the king, they made demands. But in the mirror doubt would stare, and only you knew what was there. I wrote you lines in trembling ink, not for the press, not for the drink, just for the man who saw me hold beyond the glitter, past the road. Say hello to everyone, I'll be home when this is done. The curtain falls, the echo fades, but you remain my serenade. 4 more weeks this fire will fade. I'll find my way back through the hay to Graceland's porch where silence sings and friendship wears no stage or wings.
Thank you all for gathering here at Hillbilly Cat History, where we remember together and listen for the echoes. And today, we're going to hear the echoes of flying to get married. First, let's take a look at a picture I wanted to show you guys yesterday. And this is the poster for the Hellcats. Leather on the outside, all woman on the inside. And you can see one of the Hellcats with a chain and a patch over one eye, and on her belt, she's keeping her belt closed with a pair of handcuffs. And it says Linda, blonde beauty, just as deadly. Sheila, she'll turn you on or cut you down. So the first is a blonde woman. The second is I would say a redhead. I think we've got a third redhead wearing sunglasses. Candy, vivacious, violent, voluptuous. We've got a brunette with black hair. Betty, tall. I believe that's tall. Betty, tall, cool, crazy. Got a blonde, D, gone all the way. And the woman with the eye patch, who looks a lot like Daryl Hannah, but is absolutely not Daryl Hannah, says Rita, she's been there and seen it all. Hi, Linda Jewell. Thank you so much for coming. Appreciate seeing you here. And hi to everyone that came in during the song. Appreciate seeing all of you too. Hi, chillin' in Canada. Thank you so much for being here. And this is the poster for the movie that Sonny West is missing this wedding for. He's off filming this movie. Well, that's what he says. Or he was filming it in December. We're not quite sure. According to his biography, it was both times. But here it is. The Hellcats. Leather on the outside. And now we get a secret look behind the scenes. We know that a lot of people flew in on the 29th, April 29th, 1967. And that's the date that we can see on this receipt from Harry Levitch, fine jewelry and diamonds, from the Hotel Peabody in Memphis. So this is not from the West Coast where everybody's at. This is from Memphis. And it's got a bunch of jewelry listed on it. And it's got that date that everybody is gathering in Palm Springs. And Chillin' in Canada says the Hellcats got an eye patch. Yeah. You know that had to be a great movie. Sonny says something about how he was thinking it was going to do great at the drive-ins. And Marion says she's never heard about that movie. Well, probably because it might have done great at the drive-ins. It's not a movie that was expected to do well. And that kind of makes you wonder about Sonny, too. He felt like he was climbing this ladder, but he was not working for Elvis Presley in order to be on the bottom rung of this ladder, but then coming back to work for Elvis. So I don't know. It's kind of weird. And Chillin saying that he's got to see they've got to see the movie now. And Chillin, I have never asked if you are a male or a female. You've got a pink symbol, so I feel like maybe female, but I think that YouTube randomly assigns that, so I have no idea. So if I've ever misgendered you, please accept my apologies. But on this particular receipt that we can see, it says Harry Levitch. We know it comes from Memphis. And somebody has written this note, HL. I'm going to guess that's Harry Levitch. Took on a trip. So this is stuff that Harry took with him. I don't know if it necessarily means that he sold it all to Elvis, and this is really what Elvis paid. I don't even know that Elvis would have paid this full amount. Maybe he gets a standard discount. Who knows? But this is an Elvis receipt connected to this wedding from Elvis's jeweler in Memphis, Harry Levitch. And chilling in Canada says that she's all woman, just like a Hellcat. Well, good to know. Thank you so much. And Eve says, for chilling, you go, girl. That's right. If only that movie was in the public domain and then we could all watch it here together. Like we were at our very own drive-in. And Keith says, what was $625? Well, let's take a look at this receipt. The first two things, I believe, both say Gents 18 karat buckle, which I believe must be an 18 karat gold buckle. And one is $425 and one is $615. Now, the way to think about these prices today, $615 would be roughly, I'm going to say $5,500. It's a little less than 10 times. Well, this is 1967. It's probably right at 10 times the amount. So it's right at $6,100. So the 425's right at $4,250 is what you would pay for these items today. Now, I believe you'd probably pay significantly more than that because the price of gold has recently outpaced inflation quite a bit. But if all remained equal in the world of gold, then about $4,250 for that very first item that we're looking at. And Eve says the price of gold back then, if only we could go back in time. That's correct. If we could fill our pockets and come back forward, we would be extremely wealthy people in 2025. I don't know how much you can buy in 2025 being extremely wealthy because those prices for everything else have also increased significantly. But Eve agrees that the price of gold is through the roof and silver. It's both the precious metals tell us that bad things are about to happen to the economy, but the economy says it's not true. So it's a very confusing time to live in if you like gold and silver. But back when Elvis was around, you should have been buying tons of this stuff because look at these prices. But again, it would have cost a real person back then something that felt like $6,000 to get that second buckle. The third thing says 18 karat gold. I cannot read what it says, but it's something that's 18 karat gold for $436. And I just cannot make it ring. The last word is ring. Emerald? Some kind of gold ring. And the fourth thing is, I think it says manager arts. I can't tell. But it's $625. But I absolutely cannot tell. The next thing is crossed out for $100 emerald wedding ring. I think that means Elvis must not have bought it, at least not at this point in time. And so they probably crossed it off and then didn't charge him for it. Not sure. But I believe the way this is working is Harry Levitch has a suitcase. And in that suitcase, he has all of this jewelry. And the inventory for the jewelry is already written out on these receipts. And then he can just cross out what Elvis doesn't get. And then he has an instant receipt to give, which is the way Elvis likes to do business, right? Instantly. So Harry is prepared. I don't know if this is the same way that the other jeweler, who suddenly I can't remember his name, but he's the one we all know that's there in Memphis today, and still making the TCBs and stuff. But he would go on tours and stuff with a briefcase. I don't know if he was doing the pre-done receipts like this. And again, maybe that's not what this really is, but it sure seems that way to me. And then we go down a few items. Now, the other way to think about this is maybe the ones he crossed out, maybe that's the ones Elvis took and the other stuff's still in the briefcase. I don't know. Because there is a horseshoe something that's crossed out. Horseshoe cufflink set, $70. A bull cufflink set, $100. We also have some kind of stud set, $84, and 4 link sets at $32.50 a piece for a total of $130. And Eve says, and silver, but the Bible does say they will cast their gold in the streets. So maybe that means we should buy silver. But Eve also says, what is this receipt from? Well, this is from Harry Levitch's store. And he's flown to Palm Springs. We don't know that yet, technically, but here it is. Now we know because we've got the receipt. He is with Vernon and Dee and everybody who comes over from Memphis. He's on that plane. And he's got all this jewelry because he's also got the jewelry that's been ordered for the wedding. But he brings along all this extra stock because Elvis needs extra stock of jewelry to choose from because he's going to give away a lot of gifts, and he may need to ornament different people that are going to be within the celebration and such. So he's prepared. He is ready to fulfill Elvis's jewelry needs on the fly in Las Vegas. And Billy Smith, he says he was in charge of bringing Elvis's black patent leather shoes for the wedding from Hollywood to Palm Springs. Because remember, Billy, he took care of Elvis for 10 days while Elvis had the concussion. And he was there for all of Clambake, basically. Joe has, at some point, maybe from the beginning, been there in Hollywood, either near the end of Clambake or from the beginning. I don't know when she got there. But they drive their car down from Hollywood to Palm Springs. And Billy's supposed to bring Elvis's patent leather shoes for the wedding, but also all of Elvis's other shoes. Billy's in charge of the shoes. So I'm sure Billy's in charge of other things as well. But one thing he's definitely in charge of is these shoes. All of the shoes. So they get to Palm Springs, and they're going to stay in a hotel. Now, Elvis owns a house in Palm Springs, but they're not staying at the house. I don't know if they've got their kids with them at this point. I'm not sure how old the kids would be. Let's see. Danny was 14 and 77. This is 67. That means he's 4 years old. So Danny's around. I believe Joey's probably around at this point. So that they may be staying in the hotel because Elvis has all these other people coming in. And with the kids, it may just be more comfortable for them in the hotel. They don't really explain why they're in the hotel. And when they tell the story, they believe this portions of this happened in a hotel in Vegas, but there's not enough time in the timeline for that. But there is if they came to Palm Springs on the 29th. And this occurs in a hotel in Palm Springs. So they get to the hotel, in this car that they're driving, and maybe this is how, like, I don't know if Billy flew over. He wasn't listed as one of the guys, I don't think, who flew with Elvis to Clambake when we looked at that. But he was there. this car that they're driving has Tennessee plates. And if the kids are there, and I don't know if they are, but I can't imagine that they're not, because who else would be taking care of these kids during this period? And surely Joe would, unless maybe Joe's parents are. I don't know. Truly do not know. But somehow they're driving a car that has Tennessee plates. And I don't feel like with two small children, Joe would have driven across the country. So it feels like maybe Billy drove them all across the country and joined Elvis for clam bake in time for Elvis to have the concussion. But however they do it, they've got this car with Tennessee plates. And when they pull up into Palm Springs, Rona Barrett, who we heard yesterday, was already in Palm Springs. She's at the convenience store. She sees George Klein. She tries to get out of them whether they're with Elvis and what's going on. So people are in Palm Springs, reporters. They know that there's about to be something happen. And one of them comes up and asks Billy if he's with Elvis, because he's got these Tennessee plates. Now, they're not at Elvis's house or anything, but if you're in Palm Springs right now and you got Tennessee plates, for these reporters, you're suspect. Billy plays it off, and they don't realize that he is with Elvis. But that's how hot it is in Palm Springs. People that are with Elvis are being seen, and now we've got multiple stories of that. And then Billy and Joe, they go into the hotel and they start to unpack. And that's when Billy realizes he doesn't have these black patent leather shoes that go with the custom-made tuxedo that Elvis had made for this wedding. Marty Lacker and Elvis designed the tuxedo, and they got one of the studio wardrobe guys to make it. And Billy was supposed to bring these shoes. Now he doesn't have them. But Billy does have a pair of 3/4 high suede boots that have a little strap on them. And Billy really likes these boots because he bought them for Elvis. But they're suede. I'm not even sure what color they are. Billy doesn't mention. But Billy runs out to the store and he buys black shoe polish. And he gets a couple of shoe brushes. And he comes back and he works all night to turn these suede 3/4 high boots into black patent leather shoes. Now, I don't know if you've ever tried this, but you cannot turn a suede shoe into a black patent leather shoe. So I don't know what this looks like by the time that Billy finishes. But these are the shoes that Elvis unknowingly has ready for the wedding. Elvis believes he's got a pair of really nice black patent leather shoes waiting. He believes they're safe with Billy, but they're not. He's now got possibly a ruined pair of suede leather shoes, or maybe they look great. I don't know. And Gunn says, how can a small, relatively short ceremony with such a few people cost all that money only for the jewelry? Well, that's a fantastic question, Gunn. But at this moment in time, everyone believes that the ceremony is going to be gigantic. There are tons of people coming to 2 plane loads of people coming to this in the end. Okay, we've already brought 1 plane load out from Tennessee, and they're waiting in Palm Springs, right? And Eve says that I'm a great storyteller. Thank you so much, Eve. I appreciate that. And thank you, Terry. He thinks that it's interesting. And Chillin says it's fantastic to be able to look at all the receipts and documents. And that's really the reason that I do this, so that we can see the source material. We don't have to depend on anyone else to tell us what it was. We've seen it. Now, which pieces of this did Elvis buy? Is it the crossed out pieces or the not crossed out pieces? I don't know. But we're going to hear some stories about some jewelry. Maybe we can match something up. And Eve says that she's always wondered, where were Billy and Joe's kids when they were with Elvis so much, allegedly? So I'm pretty sure that Danny tells us they were with them all the time. And they did live in several of the houses that Elvis had over there. But at this moment, they're in this hotel, which I believe has to do with the size of Elvis's house and the other people that are coming in. And Linda Jewell says that I know a ton of history. Thank you so much. And Marion says that Billy messed up with these shoes. Yes. And Eve says that she does not believe you could turn suede into patent leather either. And Marion says that she did try to do this one time, the same as Billy, and that she will never do it again. Now, Marion, would you have worn the shoes that you did this to your wedding? That's the other question that we would need to know. And Colleen says that she loves all these stories. I love bringing them to you, Colleen, so thank you so much for coming to listen to them. And Eve is also asking me if she tried to turn the suede into patent leather. And Gunn says everything with Elvis is so interesting. It is, isn't it? It's all very mythical. It's all very, it's something that you would only see in a story, and yet it's actually happening as we are able to find it. And so let's look at another piece from the 29th. This is the night I think that Billy stayed up all night trying to make these shoes, black patent leather. But this is another Harry Levitch receipt. And this one says something about double cufflinks, or I can't be cufflinks because they're $475. But then there's a single something for $65 and another one for $100. A 34-inch gold neck, I don't know, $36. A 28-inch of whatever that is, must be some kind of necklace, $27. And 13 assorted small charms, $158. So this all looks to me like stuff that Elvis would have bought, if he bought it, for people that were connected. Possibly even to give out to hotel staff and stuff. Depending on exactly what this was or who he was planning to give stuff to. Cultured pearls, Linda says. I think you're absolutely right on that. Cultured pearls. So a double strand and a single strand. And a 34-inch gold neck chain, I think is what that says. So I think we've deciphered it all. And Marion says that she would wear the shoes, hoping no one would notice. But on the other side, it's a beautiful fun fact for a wedding. And Emma says she would do the same. But we don't know what's going to happen with the shoes yet. We're going to have to get there. And before we get there, we've got to go through April 30th. And of course, Elvis has a whole lot of people at his house. And I believe this is his house. That these pictures were taken inside his Palm Springs house. I don't have the address or anything for this particular episode. I just know that he has a house in Palm Springs, and this is it. And this is a dinner that they have the night before the wedding. So they've got a lot of people there, and they're having a party. And so they don't actually have like a wedding shower. Priscilla's going to have a bridal shower later. I don't think there's any gifts involved here, one way or the other. That this is more of a family and friend function. And I'm not even sure how many gifts are brought to the actual wedding. I'm thinking people that didn't know Elvis very well, that may have been invited, they probably brought gifts. But I'm kind of thinking that, well, maybe the guys and everybody did. I have no idea. Because it did happen fairly quickly. Now, they will end up holding a reception back in Memphis, but it's going to be a month later. All the stories say, like, couple days, we got back to Memphis immediately and didn't know. This will be a month later, I think on the 29th. So not a full month, but pretty close. But this is them the day before they get married. And Elvis is wearing a white jacket. He's got it looks like a dark pink handkerchief sticking out of his pocket and a light pink shirt. Of course, the colors in these pictures are always suspect because of the different ways that film and photos and screens and all the electronic transmission works. Priscilla looks extremely happy, and her hair looks different, I think, than I've ever really seen it before. And her face even looks different than I've seen it before. And Jewel says 13 assorted small charms, and that these are probably all gifts. I think so. And Colleen says it looks like they're eating meatloaf and mashed potatoes. Might be steak because it's a special occasion, but I do agree there's definitely mashed potatoes, and it could be meatloaf. There's something right in front of Elvis that I think is some kind of fruit, or might be corn on the cob, but I think it's peaches. And then I think in front of Priscilla is a giant bowl of mashed potatoes and a giant bowl of gravy. And Priscilla is wearing a sleeveless dress that has a design that's rather blocky, but with two yellow circles on the front. So it's a two-tone dress. And one of the tones is brown and one of the tones is kind of an orange. It seems to match the napkins that are on the table. But again, all the colors are suspect in these pictures. And Linda Jewell says that she knew those were cultured pearls because she loves jewelry. Well, you were right. That definitely said C-U-L pearl. So those were cultured pearls. And Eve says if we zoom in, you can see that it's a steak medium rare. Well, that's good zooming and good eyes. You can see he's got salt and pepper, like his own shakers in front of him, or he's got the two for the whole table in front of him. He might have some kind of bread over on another plate too, like a flatbread. Not sure. Colleen says that her top is pretty loose fitting, which may lend itself to some theories. And Luann says that she thinks she can see a birthday cake on the left. Or in this case, maybe a wedding cake, but I don't know. I think those might be the mashed potatoes that you're looking at. But there is a flower, a big flower right in front of Priscilla, and it looks like a glass of water. And I believe it's a rose, and I believe it's red. And if we were to assume that that flower is truly a red rose, that would slightly change the tint of the clothes that Elvis is wearing as well. But it might be that maroonish, pinkish color that we're seeing. I guess it's more of a pink. It's like a dark pink. And Luann says, nope, it's a shiny bowl. Yep. It's a fancy looking, it looks like a glass table too. I bet that would have been new and stunning at the time. And of course the stairs in the background, which are stone, those are stunning as well. And you could see just the tip of a chandelier, just a little piece of a chandelier hanging down in the corner. And Gunn's saying that Elvis himself preferred meatloaf before steak. I do agree that Elvis preferred meatloaf. But this is a very special occasion with a lot of people, so maybe it's a steak night. I'm sure everyone else is eating steak. And Elvis did like to kind of do what everyone else was doing. So maybe they forced him into it. Every once in a while, somebody's got to force me into a good steak too. Now, this is a picture of the same event. So I'm going to flip back to the other picture for just a second, because you can see Priscilla's in the same dress. And this gives you an idea about how you cannot trust the colors in these pictures. And in this picture, Elvis's handkerchief is very bright red, which would lead us to believe that the other picture has been color changed, and that rose that we saw truly would have been the same red as what we see in Elvis's breast pocket in this picture. So don't ever believe the colors in these pictures. And Marion says the color of the rose fits to Elvis's red dot of the jacket. Yes, exactly. It's just not the red we thought it was. You get a slightly different view of Priscilla here. You can see her hands. She does have a very large ring on her left hand, on her ring finger. And she obviously has had her nails done. She is still smiling and beaming in this picture. This must be a very good night for Priscilla. This was maybe one of the best nights of her life. Hi, Luann. Thank you so much for coming. I see you're still saying that it's a hard waking up. So you need another cup of coffee. And Gunn's asking, is the jacket blue or green that Elvis is wearing? Well, it looked white in the other picture, but now it does kind of look like maybe it's a baby blue. And I'm not sure if his shirt is now white or if it was supposed to be pink. So pictures do lie. But the stuff in it was accurate. You can see that wall behind Elvis. That was like, you wouldn't see that in a normal house. It's a rock wall, but it's interior. And these are big rocks. Those are big stones. Here's another picture, same night. In this one, they are displaying their rings. You can see Elvis's ring. You can see Priscilla's ring. Obviously, this was posed to see those rings. Priscilla has a huge smile on her face. Elvis as well. He looks extremely happy. He looks very tan next to Priscilla. He has a lot of color in his face. She's very white. In this one, you can see that the yellow of her dress is a very bright yellow, and the blue is a deep, like a royal blue, I think. I think that's what they call that. And Linda Jewell says she loves this house and tried to drive by it in Palm Springs, but had no luck. And Emma's saying that Priscilla was beautiful. And it is nice to see him looking happy. And Linda Jewell is saying, so maybe the story of him crying isn't true, that she can't sort fiction from fact. Well, it's all here, fiction and fact, but the truth is right here in the pictures, at least at this moment in time. I don't think Elvis is faking that smile, although he could have. He was a great actor. I don't think Priscilla's faking her smile. I don't think she is nearly the actor that Elvis was. This is another picture where they're having a fun, playful moment. And it looks like a lot of these were snapped like right in a row, or very close to the same moment in time. Elvis is obviously teasing Priscilla about something. He thinks it's very funny, and she's getting a big kick out of it. I think he's trying to see the ring or the bracelet that's on her arm, maybe one of the charms on her bracelet. And Priscilla is delighted with the attention. Same night, same place. You can see how beautiful the wall is of this house. I mean, it is an amazing interior. And Elvis, he looks very cool in this picture. His hair is looking pretty spectacular. Jacket appears to still be light blue in this picture. Still can't tell if that shirt's got a pink tinge to it or not. And Eve says that Priscilla wanted to be a famous actress, but that her biggest role was a faithful wife. She only played that role once, though. Now here's a group shot. And you can see how immense this living room is. And look at this couch. So I know that everyone makes a big deal about the couch at Graceland, that he had this custom long couch, and you can go there today and you can still see it. Can't sit on it, but you can go see it. Look at this couch. I mean, this like puts the Graceland couch to shame. We can't even see the ends of it in this picture. And the coffee table in front of it is magnificent. Everything is in very light colors too, so it must have taken somebody a decent amount of work to keep this all clean. And that somebody wasn't Elvis. And I don't think it's any of the people sitting on this couch in this picture. Everybody picked up after themselves, I'm sure, but this kind of white interior really takes a lot to keep clean. You gotta really stay on top of it. Now, he did have a staff there. I believe it was a married couple. I could be wrong about that. I know at one of the houses for sure there was a married couple that took care of it. And Emma says that she's always wanted that sofa. This sofa or the Graceland sofa? And Eve says it's a cool retro couch. But in this picture, we can see Vernon, we can see his wife, Dee, and she is wearing an all-white outfit. Vernon's in a suit. Vernon's showing a little bit of leg hair because his suit pants they're riding up just a little bit. But you can, in this picture, see a grin, just a hint of a grin on Vernon's face. A little bit unusual. He's not always known for smiling, but you can see he's fairly content and happy in this picture. Dee has some enormous hair. I mean, they talk about people in the 80s having big hair, but in this instance, this is not a beehive or anything, but Dee has some immense blonde hair. Now you can see on the other end of the couch, there's Elvis and there's Priscilla, and they're wearing the clothes that we've been talking about. And in the middle is another lady. I am not sure who that is. Do any of you know who it is for sure? It might be Joni Esposito. Could be somebody in Priscilla's family. I don't think it's Priscilla's mother, but I could be wrong. But I am not absolutely sure who this person is. And Eve notices that Dee has her arms crossed. And Colleen's also noticed that Dee's hair is very, very tall. And Emma says she's always checking out the furniture in these old photos. And Gunn says that Vernon looks relaxed. Yes, it's unusual to see Vernon in a relaxed atmosphere like this. So I think this is a rare shot. And Linda's saying that maybe it's Joni Esposito, Joe's wife. That would be my guess, but I don't think she's I mean, this is a beautiful lady, but I don't think it's Joni. And Terry says it might be her sister. It might be, but I was thinking her sister was younger. And this lady looks to be more like Dee's age. But we're not sure. None of us are really sure. But maybe we'll identify her in a later episode. But here's a picture where Elvis and Priscilla cross arms, take a drink out of a glass. Obviously a staged picture. But here at the house, in this moment, they're getting all these good, pre-wedding pictures. I don't know who's taking these pictures. There could be multiple cameras going. I'm sure this is one of those moments where even though Elvis doesn't like to have pictures taken a lot, this is one of those family moments, right? This is one of the moments of your life that's got to be documented. And just for Priscilla's sake, he would surely have all these pictures taken. So that might be one of the reasons. Or it might just be that these people that have come, because it's a wedding, they've brought cameras and they've said, we've got to take pictures, Elvis. This is what you do. Emma says she does think it's her sister, Michelle. No, maybe so. And Colleen is asking, how much younger was Dee than Vernon? Good question. I think Dee was roughly 10 years older than Elvis. Let's think. He was 22 or 23 when he was in the service, right? And I think she was around 35. So she's maybe like 12 years older than Elvis. And Vernon's roughly 18 years older than Elvis. So I would say she's 6 years younger. 8 to 6 years younger than Vernon. Just off the top of my head with that math. And chilling in Canada saying that Michelle was born in 1960. So that lady's probably a little old to be 7 years old. So it might not be Michelle. So we're again back to square one. But here we do see that Priscilla truly was beautiful, and Elvis is looking at her as if she is. And again, his hair looks fabulous in this picture. I think his hair looks better than her hair in this picture. And here is a sweet picture of Priscilla lightly kissing Elvis on the cheek during these same moments. Probably a little staged since her hand is positioned to show the ring. And maybe there's a better quality of this particular picture out there somewhere, because this one's slightly blurry, but would have probably been a magnificent shot of that ring. So now we get to George Klein. And George Klein tells us that just after midnight on May 1st, the wedding party snuck out the back door of Elvis's Palm Springs home, climbed over the backyard wall, and got in a car to head to the airport. Marty Lacker says, that night we rented a Lear jet, and Elvis, Priscilla, Joe, Joni, and George flew to Las Vegas, as though they were just going for a good time evening. We also chartered a DC-3, and at 3 a.m, I got everybody to the airport, and we flew to Las Vegas. There we were met by a special bus and taken to the hotel, where we went to our rooms by a rear entrance. And that was Marty Lacker. Now, Joe Esposito, what he says is at about 4 a.m. on May 1st, 1967, Elvis, Priscilla, George Klein, Joan, he did not call his wife Joni. She was Joan, and I snuck out the back of the Palm Springs house to avoid the fans and press. We climbed over a small wall and into a waiting car that took us to the Palm Springs airport. There we boarded a private Lear jet owned by Frank Sinatra, and we flew to Las Vegas, while Marty and the rest of the wedding party took a larger plane. Elvis borrowed Frank Sinatra's plane to fly to his wedding in Las Vegas. Now, we've got some conflicting reports here. George thinks it happened after midnight. Joe Esposito saying it happened at 4 a.m. Marty seems to think it happened to make it look like a normal night in Vegas, so that would indicate before midnight. But George Klein says Elvis had been loaned Frank Sinatra's private jet for the occasion, And he and Priscilla, myself, Joan and Jody Esposito, and a pair of pilots boarded that to fly to Las Vegas. The rest of the entourage boarded a separate plane that Elvis had leased. I was deeply honored that Elvis wanted me on the plane with him. So there's only a few people on Frank Sinatra's plane. George is one of them. Joe and Joni Esposito, Elvis and Priscilla. And George's account seems to match up with Joe's on this, so it looks like it's true. Frank Sinatra's Learjet, just for those that are interested, was named Christina. And we see before us a newspaper article. And in that newspaper article, it says that was published on June 5th, 1967, so a month later. It says the pilot who flew the Elvis Presley wedding party from Palm Springs to Las Vegas in the middle of the night was none other than Danny Kaye. Danny Kaye is another famous celebrity. This is Danny Kaye. He had a television show. He was very famous. And he flew Elvis in Frank Sinatra's jet from Palm Springs to Las Vegas in secret so that Elvis could get married at the Aladdin Hotel. Anybody out there, did you know that Danny Kaye flew that plane or that Frank Sinatra owned it? I'm just looking through the chat to see if I've missed anything. And Luann saying something about the time. The time has changed here in the United States for daylight savings time or to end daylight savings time or whatever that is. But it's over now. The rest of the world changed time, I think, a couple of weeks ago. So we should be good for 6 months going forward at these current times. I'm broadcasting at 10 a.m. and 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This is the 3 p.m. slot. I don't know what time that is in your part of the world for anybody that's listening, but I'm broadcasting at 10 a.m. and 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I think sometimes they call it Eastern Daylight Time or EDT, something like that, but it's the Eastern Time in the United States. And Eve says Danny Kaye, she remembers it was well before her time, but she was always interested in the older shows and did not know that Danny Kaye flew Frank Sinatra's jet so that Elvis and Priscilla could get married. And that brings us to the end of another hour, and we still haven't got to the wedding, but we're so much closer because we've taken the planes. There were 2 planes. He's got 2 plane loads of people. Now, one's kind of a small plane load. I'll give you that. But he's got a full plane load of people that are following. And they're all going to make it to Las Vegas. And then there's going to be a wedding. But that's going to come in a later episode. And I'm going to let you all go with the song about what Elvis is trying to accomplish with this wedding. And that's his heart's desire, which he told us all about in a 1963 magazine article. And this song tells that story, his heart's desire. Thank you so much for joining me, everybody. And you all keep on taking care of business.
His time came too early, the curtain fell too fast. Before he was ready, before we could grasp the man behind the myth, the ache behind the fame. He wanted something simple, not fortune, not acclaim. 6 is 3, the threats came down like rain. He spoke of love, not fear, through the shadow and the strain. I wanna live to be old, he said with quiet grace, to remember her love and see our children's face. He didn't ask for gold, didn't dream of a throne. He wanted a family, a place to call home, to be a good man with a heart that could rest, to know he was loved and he'd given in his best. No mansion in the sky, no diamond parade, just the warmth of a hand and the life they made. A whisper of laughter, a child's sleepy sigh, that was the dream he carried inside. He didn't ask for gold, didn't dream of a throne. He wanted a family, a place to call home, to be a good man